Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're going beyond just a job description and really diving deep into what top-tier strategic thinking actually looks like.
Right.
And we're doing that by looking at the role of a chief strategy officer, or CSO. We've gathered a bunch of, well, typical questions someone in that role might face.
Yeah, and the idea isn't just interview prep, although it could help with that, I suppose.
Sure.
It's more about using these questions as a lens,
Yeah.
to understand the core skills, the mindset needed to really shape where an organization is heading.
Exactly. It's like a unique window into leadership and future-proofing a business. Valuable stuff, whether you're aiming for that C-suite or just want to sharpen your own strategic approach.
Absolutely. Because these questions, they get right to the heart of it. Things like foresight, complex problem solving, building effective teams, and crucially, how leaders adapt.
Adaptability, yeah.
Constantly adapting. So digging into these can spark some real aha
Yeah.
moments for anyone, really, anyone interested in driving growth or just navigating the messy reality of business today.
Okay, let's unpack this first bit. When someone, say an interviewer or maybe the board, asks a potential CSO about their past strategies, what are they really asking? It feels like it's more than just, did you have a plan? It's got to be about how it was built, how it actually came to life, right?
That's exactly it. So many questions circle back to this fundamental point. Can you not just create a strategy, but actually execute it
Mm.
and show results?
Tangible results.
Tangible results, exactly. Take a question like, what strategies have you implemented in the past to ensure that a company's long-term goals are met?
Right.
What they're probing there is your strategic capability. Did you develop a plan? Yes. Okay. But could you execute it? Could you adapt when, things inevitably change?
Just market shifts or something.
Precisely. So a good answer isn't just theoretical. You talk about specifics, maybe launching a new product line. You mentioned the market research, identifying the right customers, the marketing push. But then crucially, the outcome, like maybe a 20% sales increase in the first year.
Wow, okay. Specifics matter.
Hugely. And you'd also mention the challenges. Maybe you had to streamline processes, bring in new tech midstream, or react to new regulations. It shows that dynamic ability, plan, act, refine, adapt.
Right, it's not static, which leads nicely into this other common one. Describe your experience with developing and executing strategic plans for an organization. How's that different? Is it just rewording the same thing?
It sounds similar, yeah, but there's a subtle shift in focus. This one leans more into the process. How do you actually do it? How do you bring people along?
The collaboration aspect.
Exactly. They're assessing your understanding of, organizational dynamics. How do you work cross-functionally? So a strong answer dives into the how.
Okay.
You might describe, say, leading a strategic refresh. You didn't just do market analysis in a silo. You actively engaged department heads, maybe through workshops, clear communication plans, getting feedback, ensuring everyone felt ownership. It shows you get that a strategy document on a shelf is useless. It needs buy-in.
Yeah, that makes total sense. The plan's only as good as the team executing it. And speaking of good plans, can you give an example of a successful strategic initiative you have led in the past? What's the core thing they want here?
Evidence. Plain and simple. They want proof of impact and that you understand the whole life cycle of an initiative, from idea to results.
The full journey.
The full journey. So you might talk about leading, say, a digital transformation project, not just we built a website, but the strategy behind it.
Right.
Defining the goals up front, more web traffic, sure, but also better brand engagement, higher conversion rates, actual sales growth tied to digital.
Measurable stuff.
Measurable, quantifiable results. You'd mention how you allocated budget, maybe chose vendors, tested campaigns. The success isn't vague, it's specific increases. We saw X% rise in engagement, Y% jump in profits from this channel. It shows a clear ROI on the strategic thinking.
Got it. Show, don't just tell. Okay, last one in this section. How do you approach setting and achieving long-term goals for the company? How do you make sure those big, ambitious goals actually happen?
Yeah, this one's about your methodology, your system for turning ambition into reality. It's not just wishful thinking, right?
Hopefully not.
Right. So a CSO would likely describe a process, starting with data, deep dives into market trends, competitor moves, internal strengths and weaknesses, maybe using a SWOT analysis or something similar.
Okay, the analytical part.
Exactly. Then translating those insights into clear, actionable objectives. Maybe using OKR's objectives and key results to ensure everyone's aligned and progress is tracked.
Right, keeping everyone on the same page.
Key point. Emphasis on transparency, communication, make sure every team, every individual understands how their work contributes to the big picture. It's about having a robust, iterative process.
Okay, this next part, this is where I think it gets really fascinating. How does a CSO keep tabs on everything? Inside the company, outside the company. It feels like needing a superpower.
Huh. Maybe not a superpower, but definitely a well-oiled insight engine, as you put it earlier. It's about constant vigilance, drawing insights from everywhere to anticipate what's next.
So, not just reading the headlines.
Definitely not.
Mm.
Take this question. How do you stay informed about industry trends and developments in order to make informed decisions as chief strategy officer?
Mm.
They don't just want to know if you read like the main trade mags.
No.
They're asking about your process for intelligence gathering, horizon scanning,
Your system.
your system, exactly.
Yeah.
A good answer would cover multiple angles, conferences, yes, newsletters, sure, but also actively networking, talking to thought leaders, maybe even monitoring adjacent industries, where disruption often comes from.
Good point. Looking sideways.
Right. Maybe even using tech, setting up feeds to track emerging tech or shifts in customer sentiment. And then the crucial part, how do you synthesize all that? How do you turn noise into signal to spot opportunities or risks before they hit?
Proactive, not reactive.
That's the goal.
Okay, so that's the external view, but what about inside? How do you stay informed about the company's performance and progress towards its goals? That feels like a different beast.
It is, in a way.
Yeah.
This tests your internal situational awareness. Can you connect the dots between day-to-day operations and the big strategic picture?
How do you do that effectively?
Well, you talk about more than just reading the quarterly reports. It's about regular structured conversations with senior leaders. It's about having robust dashboards, using analytics to track KPIs beyond just finance operational metrics, customer feedback.
Real-time data.
Ideally, yeah. Maybe even using predictive analytics. The strategic skill is linking that granular operational data back to the long-term objectives. Are we actually on track? If not, why?
Got it. And then there's the competition, always looming. How do you stay informed about the competitive landscape and make strategic decisions to stay ahead of the competition? How do you actually, outsmart them?
The million-dollar question. This really digs into your competitive strategy mindset. Are you playing defense or offense? A strong answer outlines a framework. Systematically analyzing competitors, their financials, product moves, market share shifts, even who they're hiring.
Okay.
Using market research tools, benchmarking, maybe even internal wargaming sessions to simulate scenarios.
Core gaming.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can be really insightful. The point is showing how this deep competitive intel directly feeds decisions. Maybe you spot an unmet need they're ignoring and launch something disruptive. Or maybe you strategically exit a crowded space to focus elsewhere. It's about proactive positioning for advantage.
Makes sense. And the final piece of this intel puzzle. Are you familiar with the latest technology trends and their implications for businesses? This isn't just about being tech-savvy, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's about being a techno-strategist, thinking critically about how tech reshapes your business, your industry.
So understanding the implications.
Precisely. Not just knowing about AI or blockchain, but understanding their potential impact on your business model, your operations, your customers.
How would you demonstrate that? You talk about how you stay current reading, yes, but also conferences, talking to tech leaders. Then give an example. Maybe you identified a key digital marketing trend early.
Like personalization or something?
Exactly. And you didn't just note it, you championed an initiative. Got investment, upskilled the team, used in new platforms, and then show the result. Increased engagement, more revenue. It connects the trend to a tangible strategic advantage.
Okay, so we talked about planning and staying informed, but business is messy, right? Unexpected stuff happens. How do CSOs handle the really tough things like sudden market downturns or major internal risks? It's about navigating the storm, not just predicting sunshine.
That's a perfect analogy. And it brings up a key question. How do strategic leaders move beyond just reacting? How they proactively manage challenges, mitigate risks, and maybe even find opportunity in disruption?
Right.
So when they ask, explain how you would go about assessing the current state of a business and identifying areas for improvement, they're testing your diagnostic skills, your structured approach to finding the problems before they become crises.
How would you describe that approach?
You'd outline a comprehensive process, starting broad, looking at financials, sure, but also getting Deep customer feedback, mapping the competitive environment, understanding market trends,
Right.
synthesizing all that data to pinpoint the real weaknesses or untapped opportunities.
And then?
Then, outlining concrete strategies. Maybe it's boosting operational efficiency, maybe launching new services. The key is showing it's a continuous cycle. Assess, intervene, monitor, adjust.
Okay, a clear diagnostic process. But what if that diagnosis means big disruptive change? Tell me about a time when you had to lead a team through a period of significant change. This sounds like a leadership test.
It absolutely is. It probes your agility, your communication skills, your empathy, really, your emotional intelligence under pressure.
So how do you answer that well?
You need to articulate the why, clearly. Why is the change necessary? Then detail your communication plan. For instance, maybe you led the shift to automating certain processes.
Which could make people nervous.
Exactly. So you wouldn't just announce it. You'd hold town halls, create feedback channels, address anxieties head-on, talk about retraining or new roles. You need to show you managed the human side of the strategic shift.
So success isn't just getting the tech working.
Right. It's also about maintaining morale and ensuring the team comes through it, feeling supported, even if it was tough. Balancing the strategic need with empathetic leadership.
Makes sense. And change almost always involves risk. Which brings us to, what is your approach to risk management, and how do you balance the need for growth with the need for caution?
The balancing act. This gets right to the core of responsible strategic leadership.
Yeah.
Can you take calculated risks? Be bold, but not reckless.
How do you demonstrate that balance?
You describe a systematic process, identifying risks, assessing their likelihood and potential impact, then figuring out how to mitigate them. Maybe using tools like scenario planning, what's the best case, worst case, most likely.
Right.
And you weigh the potential reward against the potential cost or downside. You define the organization's risk appetite clearly. Maybe you pilot ambitious ideas first.
Test the waters.
Exactly. It's about making informed, data-backed bets and being transparent about the trade-offs with stakeholders.
Okay. And sometimes those risks aren't just market or operational, they're legal or regulatory. Describe a situation where you had to navigate a complex legal or regulatory issue as Chief Strategy Officer.
Yeah, this tests your ability to operate where strategy meets compliance. High-stakes problem solving.
It's a key area.
Definitely. You need a specific example. Maybe dealing with new data privacy laws during a product launch, or navigating regulations during an international expansion or a merger. The key is showing how you identify the issue early, work closely with legal, finance, operations, how you collaborated, and crucially, how you found a strategic path forward that met the compliance needs but still achieved the business goals. It shows you can handle that complex interplay.
Okay, final big theme. Strategy doesn't happen in an ivory tower, right? It needs people, it needs collaboration, partnerships, the right kind of company culture. How does a CSO actually build those relationships and make sure strategies take root?
That's such a vital point. And it's interesting how many questions focus on these, let's call them relationship aspects. It highlights that the soft skills are just as critical as the hard strategy.
So, like, what kind of question?
Well, how do you ensure effective communication and collaboration between the board and management team? That's about bridging a potentially huge gap.
Yeah, those can be tricky dynamics.
For sure. So you talk about creating an environment for open two-way dialogue, not just management reporting up, but genuine discussion. Maybe structured updates, clear channels for feedback, ensuring transparency about challenges early on. Building trust is key for alignment.
Alignment at the top. What about further down? We want to ensure that our employees feel comfortable coming to our Chief Strategy Officer if they have ideas or concerns. What would you do to foster this kind of environment? How do you make the CSO approachable?
Great question. Because strategy needs ideas from everywhere. You need that feedback loop.
So how? Open door policy?
That's part of it, maybe.
Yeah.
But more actively, you talk about really listening, maybe having dedicated office hours, using anonymous suggestion tools, running internal innovation challenges.
Okay.
The crucial bit is showing you don't just collect ideas, you actually evaluate them. You integrate the good ones. It makes employees feel heard and valued as contributors to strategy, not just recipients.
Turns them into active participants.
Isn't that nice?
Which connects to culture. What is your opinion on the role of a Chief Strategy Officer in setting company culture? Do they have a role?
Oh, absolutely. A huge, maybe sometimes underestimated role. This question checks if you understand that influence.
How does a CSO influence culture?
Strategy drives culture. what you prioritize, how you measure success, where you put resources that sends powerful cultural signals. So a CSO shapes culture by championing initiatives that align with values, by fostering collaboration, by being transparent, by celebrating wins that reflect the desired culture,
Yeah.
leading by example.
Making the values real, not just words on a poster.
Exactly. Embedding them in the day-to-day.
But sometimes decisions aren't popular, even with good communication. Tell me about a time when you had to make a decision that was not popular with the board or management team. Test of courage.
Definitely. Test of conviction and persuasive skills. You'd meet a specific situation where you stuck to your guns strategically.
Like what?
Maybe pushing for a costly but necessary tech investment, or divesting from a legacy business unit that people were attached to. The key is explaining how you made your case.
With data.
With robust data, clear strategic rationale, addressing the concerns directly, showing the long-term benefit despite the short-term pain or opposition, and maybe mentioning what you learned about navigating those tough conversations.
Right. And relationships aren't just internal. What about outside? How do you evaluate and select potential new partners or vendors?
Yeah, strategic alliances are critical. This question looks for a systematic approach, not just picking the cheapest option.
What criteria matter?
You talk about strategic fit, first and foremost, but also quality, reliability, cultural alignment, financial stability, their track record. It involves research, due diligence, reference checks, maybe pilot projects. It's a strategic decision, not just a procurement task.
Got it. Okay, last one in this bucket. How do you ensure that the company's values and mission are reflected in its day-to-day operations? Feels like we touched on this with culture, but maybe this is more operational.
It is. It's about translating those high-level values into concrete actions and processes. How do you make them stick?
And how do you do that?
You'd give examples. Maybe integrating values into performance metrics, recognizing behaviors that exemplify the mission, designing specific initiatives like sustainability efforts, if that's a core value, using internal feedback and customer feedback to check alignment. It's about constant reinforcement and ensuring decisions at all levels reflect what the company stands for.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've covered planning, intel, navigating problems, building relationships. How does all this strategic work actually lead to growth? And maybe just as important, how do CSOs know if it's working? When do they stick with a plan versus, pivot?
Excellent final questions. It brings us to this critical point. How do you foster innovation, that engine for future growth? And how do you measure if your strategies are delivering? How do you know when to adjust course?
Right.
So what strategies do you use to identify opportunities for innovation within an organization? This is probing your ability to think outside the box, but systematically.
How do you foster innovation systematically? Seems contradictory.
It can feel that way. But you talk about a process. Assessing the current state, yes, but also actively looking for those white spaces in the market. Maybe through dedicated brainstorming sessions, using data science to spot unmet needs, tracking new tech, partnering with startups.
So multiple avenues.
Multiple avenues, and critically, not just generating ideas, but having a way to vet them. Pilot programs, rapid prototyping, ensuring innovation is actually tied to strategic goals, not just random creativity.
Grounded innovation. Okay, and then the measurement piece. How do you measure the success of a strategy and determine whether it needs to be adjusted? How do you know when to hold them or fold them?
This is fundamental to adaptive strategy. You need a robust measurement framework.
Yeah.
And it's got to be more than just profit.
Like what?
A balanced scorecard approach is common. Tracking KPIs across different areas, customer satisfaction, market share, operational efficiency, maybe employee engagement, and tracking them regularly, weekly, monthly, whatever makes sense.
Right.
But the strategic insight isn't just seeing the numbers. It's analyzing why they are what they are. If a strategy is missing targets, you dig into the root cause.
And then adjust.
And then adjust intelligently. Maybe a customer acquisition plan isn't working. Instead of just spending more, maybe the data suggests pivoting to focus on retaining existing customers offers better long-term value. It shows you're data-driven, iterative, and willing to adapt. That's crucial.
Wow. That paints a really comprehensive picture.
It really does. I mean, what emerges from all these questions is that being a chief strategy officer is incredibly broad, deeply complex. It's so much more than just making plans.
Yeah, it's constant.
A continuous cycle, right? Gathering insights, solving tough problems, building bridges with people, executing, measuring, adapting. It demands this blend of sharp analysis, deep market sense, and really strong leadership skills.
And looking at the bigger picture, it feels like these principles, The rigorous information gathering, the bold decision making, fostering that collaborative culture, they're not just for CSOs, are they?
Not at all. They're pretty universal principles of effective leadership, period. Whether you're leading a company or just a small project team, it's a powerful toolkit for driving change anywhere.
So here's something to think about as you, our listeners, go about your week. How can you apply some of these strategic principles, the ones often associated with the C-suite, in your own work, or even in your personal goals? How might thinking a bit more like a chief strategy officer change how you approach your own plans and challenges, big or small?